people standing around and cheering you on to get a divorce and saying, yes, do it.
When is the last time you had fun without responsibility?
You've been speaking to LJ before. Hang on.
But happiness is an inside job.
That is a big dream.
That's an interesting one.
I have one client who was going to have an affair, and when a relationship is broken down or breaking down, hope goes out the window. And I want to bring it back in and go, no, there is always hope.
This has been a really interesting conversation.
Yeah, what is a relationship and divorce coach?
So the first question I ask anybody who comes anywhere near my world is,
Hello and welcome to another Couple Goals Expert episode. For these episodes, we talk to different experts on a range of subjects, delving deeper into the specific areas of our relationships. I'm Luke.
And I'm LJ, and during these episodes, we're not just going to be asking our own questions, we're going to be asking your questions too. So please do keep submitting them. We would love to ask them on your behalf.
Please look for us on social media. We're on TikTok, Instagram and YouTube. Just search Couple Goals Pod to find some really good stuff, behind the scenes footage, outtakes, all the good stuff.
And today we're speaking to Claire Auchmuty. Thanks for joining us, Claire. And you are a relationship and divorce coach. Mm-hmm. With a background in crisis management, and you help couples realise what if I don't need a divorce, which is really interesting. And you help support couples notice negative thought patterns in their relationships, to shift perspectives and to intentionally rebuild connection in the relationships. So thank you so much for joining us today. It's really great to have you here
You're
with
welcome.
us.
It's quite a joy to be here. Thank you for having me.
And thanks for flying over this morning as well.
You're welcome. Anything for 5:10, leave the house. Yeah.
I just
had to get that in there.
You did, yeah.
We should have coffee in these glasses.
I know.
Yeah,
we good, isn't it?
Something a little bit stronger than water. But no, thank you for getting on an early flight and coming over to chat to us today.
You're very
and
welcome.
For everyone that's listening in, I mean, when I first heard the term divorce coach in particular,
yes,
I kind of had this image in my head of, people standing around and cheering you on to get a divorce and saying, yes, do it.
Yeah.
So for those of us who might have the wrong image in our head, can you tell us what is a relationship and divorce coach?
Okay, totally will. So first of all, a coach is somebody who helps you to go from where you are to where you'd like to be, to help you to get there faster and easier than you can get there on your own. So that's what coaching is in any aspect. Mm-hmm. As a relationship and divorce coach, what I do is I come into people's lives when their relationship is not working. It's broken down for some degree or another. Sometimes I work with an individual because their partner may not want to see anybody else. And sometimes I work with couples. I'm absolutely not pro-divorce. I'm so glad you brought that up because divorce is not an easy journey. But sometimes it is an inevitable journey, and it is for the right reasons, which is that the relationship is not healthy. What I will say is that if you invest time, money, effort and energy into getting married, surely if it's breaking down, energy input is worth it to see if there's something we can do. So the first question I ask anybody who comes anywhere near my world is, what if you don't need a divorce? We do black and white thinking and we think it's the only option on the table, but it's just because we don't know that there are other options. And usually people will say, I just don't know whether I should stay or go. So you're asking yourself two questions and your brain is confused straight away. So I'll go, let's take divorce off the table and let's look at what we have. And let's build up an evidence pathway. What have we got? What's changeable? The only caveat we need for change is willingness. That's it. Wow. So you don't need a degree. It's literally, are you willing to try and change something? So when somebody is willing, then I could jump in both feet and go, right, let's go. So what I do is ask questions to help somebody see something in a way they haven't seen it before, to allow them to have access to information that has always been there, but they didn't see it. Because a relationship breaks down generally because communication breaks down, and therefore both parties tend to feel not seen and not heard. So when we start to feel seen and heard again, it's like, oh, that's a bit different. What's going on here? And the other partner, if they're not in front of me, usually will go, oh, I quite like this. Let's see what that's about. What are you doing? So it creates a curiosity. So if we can create something that has a potential for something different, that has to be worth a shot, in my opinion. Right. And if it doesn't get to that point where a marriage is salvageable for whatever reason, well then if you go over here, I can help you navigate this complex life event. But it's not an easy option, and I'm not pro-divorce. I am pro let's make it work, because the reality is we take us into every other relationship that we go into. So if I can help somebody change how they see them, and how they interact and deal with their triggers and things that upset them, that's going to make their life better on its own bat, never mind what happens in the future.
That's huge.
Does that answer your question?
No, absolutely.
Yeah, that's great.
And it's such a unique position to take up. What led you to pursue this?
Oh, personal experience.
Yeah. Oh.
So it'll be 10 years next year since I left my marriage, and our kids were quite small, and we had tried lots of things and it just wasn't improving. So from my perspective, our relationship was broken beyond repair. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't have any one person to help me. And I was kind of figuring it out as I went along. And so at that point, I had changed my career from being an A&E manager into a GP practice respiratory nurse. And so I wasn't doing night duty and weekends, and, you know, having the children with me overnight it just became manageable. So after about 5 years, the divorce was done, everything was finalised, you know, children were going between the two of us, that was all fine. I began to realise that I loved A&E with a passion. I did 20 years in A&E, 16 at management level. I was a children's nurse before that. I loved that. I didn't love respiratory nursing in a GP practice the same way. And I thought, I don't think I want to do this for the next 10 years or 15 years. So if that's the case, what might I like? What am I good at? What are my skills? So I started looking around and I looked at counselling courses and coaching courses and all sorts of stuff. And I kind of thought I'd love to help people, and I'd like to help people become unstuck. I didn't know what it looked like. And I found a course on Facebook to train to be a divorce coach by a woman in England. And I remember thinking, what is that? I'd never heard of it. What is that? So I did a bit of investigating. I had a discovery call with her, and what she was saying was, if you are a coach and you want to add this to your repertoire, or if you've been through a divorce, and I was like, oh, postcard and t-shirt, I've got that. So it piqued my interest because it was a story that I knew, and I knew how difficult it was in so many aspects and how overwhelming it is and how isolating it is. So I did that training. Then I went on and did a diploma in it, and then I've done lots of other training since then. And then I got to a point when I had clients and I was still working part-time as a nurse, and I thought, I'm not doing either really well. So I stepped off the cliff and I left GP practice, pensionable, permanent job as a mum, single mum, mortgaged 2 children, and set up a business in Northern Ireland that nobody had ever heard of. But I thought, I can't go back and help me all those years ago. But I can help other people. I can show them the pitfalls. I can help them. I mean, as a nurse, I lived in the prevention's better than cure. So what do you not know that might prevent you getting to over here? May not, but it might, and it has to be worth a shot if it does. So all the stuff that I wish to goodness I had known years ago, but if I had, I wouldn't be doing what I do. So, you know, we live through our life experiences, and if we can use them to change other people's worlds, well, that's amazing. So I never thought I wouldn't be a nurse. No desire to set up a business. And I find it quite astounding that I'm in the life I'm in now, just through a set of different decisions. But I know the value I bring because I know what it would have meant to me all those years ago.
Wow. That's incredible.
So that's who I am and what I do and why I do it. And I love what I do because people's lives change.
Yeah.
And that is such a privilege. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Do you find as
Loads
well with people that come to you then, when they come to you saying, right, I just need a divorce, this is it. Do you kind of think they're looking at divorce as it's going to be this wonderful thing and it's going to give me freedom? Do you think they've got a wrong picture of what divorce actually might play out like?
Yeah.
As opposed to what the reality of it could be?
I think there's nobody that has any sensible 2 brain cells would think that divorce is a good option, because it's always messy. No matter what you hear, everybody, you know, you hear people say, oh, it'll be fine. It's never fine. It just isn't in reality. And so I think what happens is the only time that we create change is when we have something where the payoff becomes less than the cost. So if you're in a marriage that's not working, or a relationship that's not working, if you're still there, some part of it is working for you. And that might sound a bit weird to somebody who's going, no, it's just not working. And I go, well, you're still there. So you know that question, should I stay or should I go?
Yeah.
I'll always say to someone, well, that's not the best question, because you're staying, you're still there. So let's get rid of that and go, should I go, as one single question? Because our brain will always go to find the answer to whatever question we ask ourselves. So when we ask 2 questions at the one time, we stay stuck in confusion. And so I think what happens is people get to a point where they don't like this so much that the payoff and the cost has shifted, but the only option they see available to them is divorce.
Right.
And so what happens is they think maybe, possibly, that at some point in the future when I'm through this, it'll be better. But nobody gets married or goes together with somebody for quite a while to want to split up because you've invested too much.
Yeah.
But sometimes people think it's the only option, which is why I start with, what if you don't need a divorce? What if you don't need to separate? Because the reality is we bring us into the next relationship. So what is it within you that if you changed or looked at or became curious about that would enhance your life, whether you end up staying or going?
Yeah. So a lot of people are blinkered. Is that what you're saying? To
Yes.
thinking, right, I have to get divorced. And what you're doing is shining light on, well, no, here's option A, here's option B, here's option C.
Yeah.
And you're clearly staying because deep down there is A, B and C and you've just forgotten about it.
Well, not so much forgotten, don't see it.
Right.
Don't realise that it's actually potential, because usually when people come to find me or before they do, they've tried everything. So one of the questions, I ask people questions when they come to a discovery call. One of the questions I ask is, what have you tried before that hasn't worked? To get people thinking, have you tried anything? Because some people have tried nothing, as in nothing formal by bringing somebody else in. Because we are made for connection as humans. We are not made to be isolated. We cannot always figure things out on our own. Therefore, if somebody has never brought anybody else into their world by way of counselling or coaching or something, there is a whole gamut of stuff here that people can't see. So I describe it like as if in the relationship that they're in, I'll say, you're driving at night, you've got your headlights on, so you can see where you're going. So all the stuff that is in your normal, you can see it.
Yeah.
By asking questions and asking better questions than you've asked yourself. It's like as if I asked someone to turn on their full beam. Suddenly they can see the side of the road. It's always been there. People just haven't seen it.
Yeah.
So that's the best analogy I can find to describe what I do.
Okay.
Because I believe there's power in a better question. Because if our brain will always go to find an answer to a question, then asking a better question is going to give us access to answers that we didn't know were there. Because we as humans have our answers. We don't need someone to advise us, to tell us what to do. So I don't give advice. What I do is I ask questions to help somebody to see what I can see that they can't yet see. So that's kind of how I work.
Right. And is it often couples you're talking to, or is it individuals that would come to you? Because I'm just thinking, I'm trying to think of, like, if you're in the position of one of them wants to get a divorce and the other one isn't there yet, is it often the case that you're talking to that individual, or are both of them there? How does that look practically?
Yeah, because I think though as well, when couples might recognise they need help and one of them suggests to their partner, oh, how about we do some counselling together or therapy, and one of them doesn't want to go. In that instance, I think a lot of people would assume, oh, well, the relationship's over because both of us have to go to counselling, or that's it, that's the end. But it sounds like from what you're saying that it's possible for one person to come and see you and receive help, and that could be enough to change things.
Yeah.
Oh, completely. I have an absolute evidence pathway with my clients that one person changing is enough to shift the dynamics in a relationship. What we won't know is what will the other person do with the change. So that's the unknown, and this is where we build an evidence pathway. Do you remember I mentioned earlier, if we have an evidence pathway that we can build because we're making a decision based on proof,
Okay.
then we make a better decision. But one person changing their part in, an argument, if you have the same argument over and over again, let's pick something out of the air. Let's say it is about holidays. One person
You've
wants...
been speaking to LJ before. hang on.
How did you guess?
How did you know that?
But you have the same argument every year when you come to holidays. So you'll have your input with your part. You'll have your input with your part. So if I work with one person out of a couple, what happens is I'll say, okay, so this is your part here. What could we do that is different? Because without doing something different, you'll get the same results this summer and next summer. So that's fine if it works for you. But if it's not beginning to work for you, let's shift it up a gear. Part of that is teaching somebody how to listen better. Because very often we listen to interrupt and tell them our point of view or to persuade them. But if somebody can listen to actually hear what the other person is saying, that already shifts the dynamic because the other person starts to feel heard and seen. Now that shifts someone because they suddenly feel safer, they feel softer, they feel, oh, what's going on here? And we tend to get so stuck in our heads that we forget we have a body with feelings and emotions, and we feel, headache, or we feel pressure in our chest, or, if you're at work and the boss says, I need to see you, very often people go, ugh, as if they're, feeling like they're having a heart attack. So we feel. So we tend to forget that in relationships. And so how do you make somebody feel? And a really good question I love to ask is, how do you think your partner experiences you? What's it like to be on the other side of you?
That's interesting.
And we don't ask ourselves those questions, but that causes very often people to step back and actually see themselves differently, to go, oh, okay, I hear you. And so it's just having a space where that can happen. So I have a client that I had worked with. I don't work with her anymore now. And their twins were young girls, so life was busy. And she came to work with me because her husband didn't see a need. And they have stayed together very well. So she dipped in with me a year and a half later because they hit a crisis point. And within 2 sessions, they were back on track.
Wow.
Because she thought, I'm back where I was. And I went, oh, you're nowhere near back where you were. This is a big trauma that has happened, but let's just change how you see it, because our perspective, when it shifts, will change the whole dynamic of something. So it is absolutely possible for one person investing in themselves to change a dynamic. Doesn't always go that way, but it is possible. And I know it to be true. So I would say to my clients, look, if you don't believe it is, that's fine. But borrow my belief until you get your own, because I know it's possible. And as you change, we'll see what happens. And I will do everything I can to set your partner up for success. And if we get to the end of the road and it's not becoming something that looks like it's going to improve, that's a different trajectory, but it's not because we haven't tried absolutely everything that's in my armour and toolkit to bring to whoever I have in front of me.
Yeah, that's really helpful.
And sometimes I do work with couples, and then that's an interesting dynamic, because what I try and help couples to do is talk to each other.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that they can hear each other differently. Because there's what we say and there's what somebody hears, and they are very different very often. And so we shift language, we soften it down. You know, I like sort of say, right, don't talk to me about them. They're sitting beside you. Talk to them and let me just listen in and just see and hear, because I'll pick up cues and things. And that's where my children's nursing and my A&E background come in, because I notice things and I notice pattern and body language, and children can't tell you what's wrong with them. So I started my training learning to notice things, never knowing how valuable it would be in what I do now, because we might say one thing and it might come out with a tone that doesn't match what we're actually saying. And our body language might be something very different. It might match the tone. So there's this confusion gap. Words are here, yes, that's fine. And it's like, yes, that's fine. And the body language is very up and back.
Yes.
So therefore, it's like we need them all to line up a little bit to create something that the other person can feel, oh, I feel heard, I feel seen.
Yeah. You touched on something quite interesting there, like negative patterns you've mentioned a few times. Has there been, have you noticed a pattern in couples with the negative patterns they have in their relationships with ones that come to you? Has there been a common theme, I guess, within the clients that you speak to?
There are 2 common themes that I see a lot and hear a lot. The first one would be a tendency to criticise. So very often when we're not happy, we criticise.
You always do that.
Likewise.
Example number 1.
Exhibit A.
Yeah, but criticism is the first way to shut something down.
Yeah.
So I have this phrase that I talk about saying, drop the rope. So when somebody criticises, like they throw a rope at someone and they want someone to pull it and yank it. So they just want this tension to go backwards and forwards. So if we can take the energy out of that, it just drops it down. So if somebody criticises you, a good way to respond to that would be, oh, that's an interesting perspective. And just literally drop the energy out of it without defending yourself, because that keeps the same energy in play. The other thing that I see is sort of like almost like, why does this always happen to me? Oh, for goodness sake, this happened at work and this happens here. And it's like this victim mentality takes over.
Bit of self-pity.
Yeah, and we can wallow in that as humans very well for quite a long time, but it doesn't actually create connection. So connection is because 2 people want to actually lean in and hear and see each other. One of the dynamics that can happen in some couples is this idea of power and control. But the reality is you can never have power and control in the same space as connection. So for those of us that are slightly older, the Beano magazines years ago, Dennis the Menace had these big red...
I was in the Beano Club.
Okay, classic.
Yeah.
I had a whole cardboard box.
I got a Beano mug at home.
Okay,
You do?
okay.
Yeah.
See, I'm not
Still
that
does,
old. But do you remember he had big red magnets, and
Yes.
they put them together and you see this big lightning bolt in the middle.
Yeah.
So power and control and connection cannot be in the same space.
Okay.
So if you're always wanting to be right in an argument or to win an argument, you're not bidding for connection, you're bidding for power. So when we start to shift that, when people understand it, that's when we have a real chance of creating something better.
That's powerful.
That is, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And I really liked something you said earlier. How does your partner, wife, husband experience you?
Yeah.
How do you experience me, babe? Like, it was one of those questions. I was just like, ooh.
It's an interesting one,
That's
though, isn't
an
it?
interesting
Yeah.
one. Yeah. No, that's really powerful. And I'm just trying to think as well, like something you said earlier on, people just don't see any other option other than divorce. Do you think that is because the way divorce is spoken about culturally and within society, at least within the UK or whatever, it's seen as a bit of an easy option? Does there need to be a little bit more discourse on actually, like basically what you were saying earlier, divorce is not an easy option. It never is an easy option. Do you think people think it is?
I think there is a tendency in our drive-through society.
Right.
You know, drive-through coffee, drive-through banking, everything is instant. You have your phone, the internet slows down somewhere and you find everybody gets frustrated and upset.
It's the worst.
So it carries into all of our lives. Okay. The difficulty is, and I think, and again, we go back to perspective. People think that, you know, leaving is easier. But I'll go, leaving is hard and staying is hard. Which hard do you choose? Because that changes the thought process.
Yeah.
You know, and having been through a divorce, I'm well qualified to talk about the fact that it's not a picnic. And it's not something that I ever wanted to happen, but it did happen. But equally, I know that staying would also have been very hard. I chose the hard of leaving, but I did it for the reasons that I did it for. But when we can see that both are hard,
Yes.
it changes what our ability to see something like in real terms.
Yeah.
So we take it out of stories we've heard or, you know, friends that have gone through it and it's gone really well or whatever it happens to be. And we put it into our real terms and go, so if they're both hard, what are we going to choose? And our brain goes, oh, that's a different question.
Yeah, it's not an escape card, is it?
No, it's not an escape card. And so sometimes people do go into it because of this sort of, you know, fast society. And they end up a year and a half down the line and it's not a quick process. It's quicker over in England, Wales and Scotland than it is in Northern Ireland or Ireland. So it's a long process. So the divorce is one thing. It's a legal piece of paper. Splitting the assets and the finances, that's a whole other ballgame. And the biggest areas for contention and upset and I suppose fighting ability, I suppose, would be the finances and children.
Right.
And nobody wants to give either of those up.
No.
And so, you know, there's just, it's complicated. So I describe divorce as a very complex life event. Yeah. And in the training I've done, it is because it is a very specific complex life event. But the biggest thing is, I remember about 2 weeks after I left my marriage reading a book on divorce, I thought it would be a good idea. Bit like, you know, horses bolted, doors shut, need to figure this out. But I remember the second chapter and the author in the book said, every person on a divorce journey needs to find a new identity, regardless of whether of the cause, the reason, who's at fault or whatever. And I remember thinking, how on earth do you do that? I didn't know how to do that.
Yeah.
But when a marriage ends, it has been a slow fade. It is never somebody just gets up and leaves. It has always been a connection that you can join the dots in hindsight. So what I want people to help people to do is see if you can find the gaps and close them before they get so wide that there is literally too much water under the bridge. Yeah. Because when things are left uncared for and unnoticed and unlooked at, you do get to there because that's just a progression. But what if we didn't need to?
Yeah. And don't you find as well, like culturally, we live in a world that is very much us focused at the moment. It's like, oh, me. What makes me happy? How do I satisfy me? How does my partner make me happy and fulfill my life and form my identity? All of that kind of thing. And I guess in your relationship, though, that you have to flip that on its head. That's essentially what you've been talking about, where if someone comes to you, you say to them, well, how can you work on you first? How can you change what you're doing and how that can then impact your entire relationship instead of pointing the finger at your partner all the time? And something that I've heard you speak about before is victim status as opposed to ownership status. Could you unpack that a little bit for us?
So the way I look at it is, and again, I'm a picture person, so bear with me. If you get out of bed in the morning and imagine there's two podiums on the floor or two red dots, whatever it happens to be, one is marked victim and one is marked ownership. Some people default to victim status. Oh, I don't feel well. Oh, I'm so tired. Oh, this is awful. Oh, I'm going to work. And so it's like the glass half empty all the time. The other person will go, I don't love my job, but I have a job. I'm not feeling brilliant, but my broken ankle is, I'm back walking again, it's a bit sore. So the perspective shifts on that. So when we have ownership status, life doesn't happen to us, it happens for us. When we have victim status, it's like as if we just make ourselves a victim to everybody and everything. The person who lives in victim status is relying on other people external from them to give them their sense of self, their validation, their happiness. But happiness is an inside job.
Yeah.
It's who we are. It's how we see that nobody can make us happy. If you have a 3-year-old having a tantrum, you can't make them happy.
Yeah.
You can't.
We've
That's
tried.
true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah, but you can't. So if you look at that in adult terms,
Yeah.
it's quite childish to expect that another adult is going to make you happy.
Yes.
So I hear, but I'm not happy. And I go, well, what is happiness? Because if you're expecting somebody else to make you happy, then it's very blown by the wind. You're out in a sailboat in the sea and you have no anchor and you have no sail. So somebody is kind to you or nice to you and you think, oh, that's really great. And they say something because they're rushed and you take it up to be you're angry and bossy. They may not be. They might be in a rush. But because of your status and what you need from them, you pick it up the wrong way and then it off-kilters you for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
So we're not made to have other people responsible for us.
No.
And one of the things that I love to do is watch the light bulbs come on in my clients' eyes when they realise how much agency they really have over their own life.
Yeah.
Because I believe we invite people to treat us how we see ourselves. So how do we see ourselves?
Yeah.
And that is an
Yeah.
interesting question.
Yeah. If you see yourself as a victim, people will treat you like a victim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We invite people to do that.
Yeah.
And then we see the world through the glasses that are, coloured, but it's victim status.
Yeah.
So it's how we see things, it's how we frame things, it's what we think about.
Yeah.
And when people say to me, it's just who I am, I go, no, I disagree. It's who you've had to be to survive circumstances, or it's what life has created for you that's got you to here. But
Yeah.
if you say it's who you are, you're giving your agency away completely.
Yeah. And it goes hand in hand with this idea of, I can't change.
Yeah.
This is who I am. I'm fully defined from birth as this is my default. Whereas what you're saying is, no, you can make a choice. Take
Absolutely.
responsibility for your actions. Take responsibility for how you feel. We say it to the kids. Like
Yeah.
our daughter, Iona, bless her heart, she would just, she did it yesterday. She, I don't know what it was, but she just, all of a sudden, I said she couldn't have something which she clearly could not have. And it was one of those moments where she just decided, I'm going to have a whinge.
Yeah.
And she can whinge with the best of them. Like she's got gold medalist whinger.
Yeah.
I'm proud of her for it.
Okay, good.
But it was one of those moments where she started getting upset and I just said, okay, well, what if you stop doing this, this will happen? And she immediately stopped. And we just took it as a moment to go, right, you just chose to stop feeling bad immediately. Think about that.
Yeah, she had a choice.
She
didn't
had a choice.
Yeah.
Did she hear you?
She did actually.
Yeah.
It was one of those moments where it was, you can actually decide to not be in a bad mood if you don't want to. Like, life's complicated, things
Yeah.
happen and it's easier in certain circumstances. But it was just one of those moments where you didn't have to do that. So you chose to do something you didn't need to do and you shouldn't have done it. So next time, what are we going to do? And she actually said, I'll choose to be happy.
Yes. But what a
Get
great
in.
lesson to
Yes.
learn at that age. I mean, that's incredible because we do have choices. But I mean, the way they talk about drains and radiators
Yeah.
as people, somebody walks into a room and you just think, oh, the energy's gone from the room
Oh, yes.
because they complain and because they criticize.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just not that pleasant to be around. So if you imagine living with somebody in 4 walls, say you're living in a flat in the centre of London or something, and you have a bedroom, a sitting room, a kitchen and a bathroom. That's a small space to have that much negativity in your life. It absolutely has an impact.
Yeah.
And the impact that has is going to impact every other area of life. So your friendships, it'll impact your work, it'll impact your ability to do your job. So one of the things that I see is that if a relationship at home is not working well, the idea of leave your things at the door and go into work is ridiculous because whoever came up with that idea didn't seem to think that your nervous system walks through that door with you
Yeah.
and everything that you carry. So when your relationship is going off, it absolutely impacts your capacity and your ability because it takes your energy and your focus and your thinking time and it just subsumes you. So when something subsumes you, you then start to feel that there's no way out, which is where you end up thinking I need a divorce because it's all you think about and it's all you talk about to your friends or to whoever. So it just becomes this, there's no other option. So when I come in and go, what if you don't need a divorce? Someone will go, what? because they haven't considered that, because they've just been ruminating about this for so long.
Yeah.
So we impact each other. And, when we look at work environments that we're in, if we're in a very difficult work environment, that will impact our home life. If we're in an environment at work, say somebody has the misfortune to be bullied at work, and they come home and their sense of self is diminishing because they're finding they're not quite sure how to have their voice, they're overthinking, they are walking on eggshells, they don't want to go to work. They come home and they're a shadow of the person that they used to be. That has an impact on your relationship.
Yeah.
But it's understanding what can their partner say and do to help them to find their feet. Would it be a good idea for them to think about maybe looking for another job, or, but it's just having someone who listens and listens to understand is what makes us feel connected, alive and human. And we lose that in the busy pace that we live.
Yeah. Do you have any exercises or techniques that you give to couples who come to you to help them kind of break maybe those cycles of negativity that they have fallen into?
Well, one of the things that's very interesting, that I don't know if you've heard of the Gottman Institute. Have you heard of that?
No.
It has come. No, it's come up. Yes.
Yeah. So John and Julie Gottman are American. They're an older couple, and they've spent their life's work working with couples. They have what they call the Love Lab, and they have worked with thousands of couples. And out of all the things they talked about they have identified different conflict styles. The big overarching thing that they discovered, which was very interesting to them, and I thought was interesting to them, we should all be taking note. And it doesn't matter what type of conflict style you have or what family of origin you come from. We tend to mimic what our family of origin is. The thing that makes the big difference in couples' longevity is the ratio of positive to negative.
Yeah.
So you need 5 positives to override every 1 negative.
Wow.
So how many times do you guys appreciate each other?
Yeah.
Because you needed, so it's just even things like, touching someone's arm as you go past them, or saying thank you because they unloaded the dishwasher. It's the small things, but if you think you need 5 positives to override 1 negative, that's quite a ratio.
Isn't it? Yeah.
So I would sort of suggest that, so every coaching session has an action plan at the end of it. So we have accountability, which is why it works differently to a counselling session. And so the action plan is designed with clients, and some of it is something I will bring to the table, and some of it I'll go, well, what do you think out of what we've talked about? And one of them will usually be, so let's see how we get on with the 5-to-1 ratio. So the first part I would start with is, you can't change anything without being aware of it. So start to become aware during the day. How often do you actually talk positively to your partner? In any aspect, you look nice, your hair is nice, it doesn't matter what it is, just to see, do you actually do it in the first place? And how much, and then if you start looking at it in a 5-to-1 ratio, are you anywhere close? Are you not? So that is a really good starting point of something that's not rocket science. But when we become aware of the world we live in, then we have the ability to change it if we choose to.
Yeah.
And what this does is it softens the edges. We get defensive, and defensiveness gives us like square edges, and then the edges bash off each other. So something like this softens the edges to make us just nicer to be around, but also we feel better around the other person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it has a big knock-on effect for both.
Yeah. Yeah, it's come up before with the power of positive words, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
As you spoke about it came back to me.
Okay.
Good, you see?
There you go. This would be a really good time to just cut to a break quickly.
Okay, great.
But when we come back, we really want to talk about the relationship audit.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm excited to hear more about that.
Because that sounds really cool. So we'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Brilliant.
Where do you turn when you don't know how to answer family and relationship questions?
For nearly 40 years, Care for the Family has been providing support all across the UK through our resources, events and specialist support. And we're not done yet.
Luke and I are so excited that next spring we'll be a part of the event Going the Distance, a new marriage event for you to learn how to invest in your relationship even more.
Plus, there are 2 incredible parenting events and our sellout evening with Rob Parsons going on tour across the country that you don't want to miss.
With audience satisfaction rates of over 98%, our events are packed full of fantastic takeaways, warmth and insight from our speaker team.
For guidance and support wherever you are in your marriage and parenting journey, please visit cff.org.uk/tour events to find out more. Welcome back, everybody. Before the break, I mentioned that we were going to talk about the relationship audit which we're very keen to talk about. Yeah. But before we get into that, for these expert episodes, we do get some questions sent in from people who listen to the podcast.
Great.
Who want to hear from the experts we talk to, and we've got one picked for you.
Yes, so here's one of our listener questions.
Okay.
They have asked, my question is, how do you adapt when your partner has changed significantly from the person that you married? And assuming from that, it's in a negative way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like it might be. But again, we're presuming.
Yeah.
So presumption and assumption are the first two things that are a really big block. So I always love to ask questions. So the person who wrote the question isn't here, but life changes us. We are not the same as we were yesterday. So expecting that we change is something that we should hold as a real thing. You know, we're not going to be the same person that we married because we go through different life events and we all react differently. So over time, you know, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and then longer, we change as people because things happen and they impact us, and we never know the value of an impact until it's happened. And so that person who's written in has probably changed as well, but maybe doesn't recognize it. And so I would be asking questions such as, if it feels negative, has there been any life event that has happened? Has there been any difficulty at work? Has a business become insolvent? Has there, you know, because these big things can actually seriously change people. Sometimes people can get very depressed. And that can come out in the home life where somebody is just not willing to engage and they shut down. But there's an actual organic reason behind it. So listening and asking questions with the real intent to hear what is going on for this other person, where is their life at, will give you the opportunity to actually know a little bit more. Because we get stuck in the, you used to do this, you don't do that. So we end up being critical without realising that we are. Or the other side of it is we end up going, this is just awful. This is not what I want. Everything we focus on will magnify. So the advice I would give to that listener would be, have you tried to understand what might be happening in your relationship and in the outside world that impacts both of you, to see if there's a cause or a reason, and actually speak to your partner with the sole intent of listening. So outside the house, go out for a meal, go out for a walk, you know, create a neutral space, different atmosphere. Generally, it's easier to talk when you're walking or driving. Sometimes sitting opposite each other is just a little bit too intense. And not going in with 101 questions, just saying something like, I've noticed you seem a bit off. I'm just wondering, do you want to talk about that? I'd love to listen. So softening and giving a chance to hear, because you don't know what you're going to hear. The thing is, we presume we do.
Right.
So that's where I would be going as a starting point for that. If the person tries that and it's not very effective, or their partner doesn't want to say anything, then I think it is a case of looking at, you know, what do I want from my life? What is working? What is not working? And bearing in mind, like we said earlier, we have the ability to change our world all on our own. So what can this person do to focus on their life, to improve their life, so that it becomes less big, this difference? Because when it's all we think about, our whole world goes down because it's all we think about. So what else can they bring into their life? Connection with friends, doing a hobby, starting something new that will actually start to make their life feel a bit better to live in. So there's different ways to approach it. That's what I would be saying.
Great.
Well said.
Yeah, it's very helpful.
So, the
Shall we
relationship
talk about it?
audit, yes. Because we were quite excited to talk about this, because it just sounds like something we're probably going to do.
Ooh, yeah, I'd love to do a relationship audit.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, could you explain what it is and why people should do it?
Yeah. So the relationship audit is something that I devised because I was looking to see how can I help people to see their world in a real way, because we all look through rose-tinted glasses at life for all sorts of reasons. Glass half full, glass half empty person, you have the same situation, they will see it very differently. And so when I got my thinking cap on, I thought, I don't tend to like reading books all the time, and I'm a visual type person, and I love questions. So if we ask ourselves a question, our brain will have to find an answer. So if you two do the audit, you will answer differently, even though you might think you know what the answer is. It's not going to be the same. So what I wanted to do was put out something into the world that created curiosity, was interesting, and this idea of we don't generally have time to celebrate our wins. So the audit is designed purposely, first and foremost, to celebrate the wins in the relationship. What is working really well? Let's celebrate that. Because if we don't celebrate it, we don't notice and we don't see. So we're missing some really important information in our lives. And then it will highlight and identify areas that are not quite so brilliant. And if you're aware of something, then you have the potential to change it. So what about you saw a crack before it became a chasm? Then you have the opportunity to do something with it. Then we have the prevention is better than cure.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my thought process behind it. And also I love quizzes. So anytime I see quizzes, I go, I wonder how I'd score in that. I think I'll do this. So I'll do it to have an idea. And generally I'm fairly on the mark, and sometimes I'm like, oh, didn't expect that. But those are the bits when we become aware of something we haven't been aware of. We have information that we can do something with if we choose to. So that's so the results that people will get when they do, whenever somebody takes the quiz, you'll get a results page and it'll be color coded like traffic lights. Okay. It'll be done in a pie chart with percentages and divided into 5 areas of trust, communication, and conflict. Cool. So it's quite specific to say this area is really good, this area is a bit low. So if you're a little bit low on communication, there'll be tips in it. Okay. So you will get a sort of more personalised reply as to what it is you can try to see if you can improve it. And then you can take it again because it's free. So you can take it again in 6 months' time and see have you scored differently. So there's the fun bit.
Oh, so how can people do this relationship
audit?
I love
these sorts of things.
Yeah, we're all about this.
Well, that's why I devised it, because I thought I love this kind of thing. And I just thought I'm just going to work on the basis that if I like it, other people will like it. Yeah. Kind of my thought process. Yeah. So it'll be online on social media. So Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. It'll be on my website and it'll also be in the show notes.
Oh, perfect.
Absolutely.
That's great. Yeah. Can't wait to give that a go.
Great. Have you got some examples of some of the questions that you would ask?
Yep.
Just as a teaser.
As a teaser. Yeah. Okay. So one of the questions would be, when is the last time you had fun?
Oh, that's a good one. Why is that important to recognise?
Because fun connects us as humans. And fun we can have no matter what life is like. We can have fun. And if a relationship starts to go south, the first thing that tends to go is fun.
Yeah.
And so it's actually a really, 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 it's not a frivolous question. It's a really important question. Because if you think about it and you realise you haven't had something that feels like fun in 6 months, there's an awareness there that, oh, okay, well, maybe this is a bit of a thing. And fun is this ability to just be silly. You know, soak somebody in a glass of water. If you find that funny, if your partner
don't do that.
might not go down well.
Just going to move the water.
Yeah,
that's a risky little game.
But you know what I mean. So you can become creative. You can think of things. You can go back to your childishness, which is we don't have to overthink. I remember one time years ago, somebody said to me, "When is the last time you had fun without responsibility?" And do you know that was a really interesting question, and I didn't actually know the answer to it, and I found that very startling and very interesting. So. Because we're so used to being responsible adults, we're responsible for kids, responsible in our job, responsible for time, we have to get here. All of these deadlines. Fun is very easy to slip below a radar.
Yeah.
So that's one of the questions. Another question would be, if you have an argument, is there a pattern as to who generally bows out first? So is there one person that generally says, I'm sorry? And then do they say they're sorry for things that they haven't even done, but just they say it because they say it? Because lots of people do that. Yeah. Or, you know, they're just so used to saying they're sorry because it feels easier to say it.
They just want the argument to end.
Yeah. Or they're so used to being overly responsible for something.
Okay.
And that's a boundaries issue.
Yeah.
But it's a bit like, you know, again, if you're not aware that you're doing it, then that's a thing.
How can you fix it?
Yes, exactly. So when we become aware of what our so my default pattern if I'm stressed is I get busy. So, and then when I'm busy, I get busier. So if I get really busy now, I understand how I work in the world. I literally stop and look over my shoulder. People would think I was mad. But it is this, what am I missing and what am I trying to avoid? Because I know I get busier because I'm trying to avoid something. Okay. So this quiz is designed to help us to see, do we have patterns? What are they? What's my pattern in this? So if you both do it and you looked at your 2 answers, you might find it, some of it you might know, but some of it you might think, that's really interesting. Yeah. And it helps you to learn about, if a couple does it, it'll help you to learn about each other. And how does the other person see their part of the relationship or see the relationship? So it's just eye-opening, but if it's done with a curiosity, it's not done with this lens of to be critical. Yeah. It's like, that's really interesting. I didn't know you thought that. So you have conversation starters.
Yeah.
What did you think of that question? So when do you think we last had fun? And it might be different to when you thought. So it's just conversation starters to think about something different. Yeah. To just go, let's just, as you say, do an audit on how things are. Because we MOT our car.
Yeah.
We do a health check with the GP. So why on earth not our relationships? Because they're the most important thing in the world. And the reality is, when relationships go south and there is a relationship breakdown and we feel isolated and alone and upset and angry and frustrated and all the things that happen, we get a physical impact. So our blood pressure can go up, we can get stomach ulcers, we can get migraines, we can get sore backs, because our bodies store stress physically. So looking after our relationships is really important.
Yeah.
Oh,
That
I'm
sounds
excited
great.
now.
I know. I'm looking forward to doing that.
Yeah, that's going to be great. I love a pie chart.
Oh,
Pie chart.
get a pie chart.
You had me at bright colours and...
Love a visual
I'm
aid.
so glad. Good. I put a lot of thought into that.
Oh,
Good.
good. It sounds brilliant. And the
Yeah.
fact that it's a free resource as well.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
definitely make sure we get the information out there. Have you got any like case studies of people who've gone through your coaching and have come out the other end positively?
Yes, I have one client who was going to have an affair
Wow.
and came to me, and she didn't really know that she wanted it, but this was kind of going to happen. So she came to me very
right.
early on, and there were children in the mix, and she was really brave.
Yeah.
And, you know, before we even got to the first session, she'd put quite a few boundaries in place. And they are very happily married a few years later.
Oh, amazing.
Still. But it was because things weren't okay, they weren't working well, and she didn't know what it was. So she wasn't actually looking for an affair. There were advances made towards her, and she would just find herself drifting. And that's what happens. People drift. It's almost like we numb out in life and we end up in a situation. I mean, how often have you heard people say, I don't know what happened, I just kind of got here.
Yeah.
And we look at someone and we go, seriously?
Yeah.
But the reality is it does happen. So if we don't kind of take stock of our lives and get back in the driving seat and go, hold on, it's like we have to snap our fingers awake. Hold on, what am I doing? And she did that. And their marriage is very good. But it could have been a whole other mess.
Yes, it was subtle little things,
Yeah.
isn't it, that all stuck
And she
up.
worked with me, he didn't.
Okay.
And she worked on changing her and learning about her and what was important and communication styles and all sorts of stuff. And the advantage of that is future-proofing her ability to live well in the world, in her relationship with herself, to feel proud of herself. Because what happens if she had drifted off into the affair, I'm not convinced she would have felt proud of herself. And then we bring in shame and guilt.
Yeah.
And then we bring in blame and criticism, and it just goes south really fast.
Yeah. How big a part do you think shame plays into all of this? Like, do people feel ashamed to come and talk to you in the first place? Do you think is shame holding people back from talking to you?
Yeah.
Yeah? Would you say it's more of that?
Yeah, and this is long before people get to a divorce point.
Yeah.
It is. So I think shame is mixed in with this feeling of vulnerability. They're taking a real risk. So one of the things that I do is when somebody books a discovery call, they give their email and their phone number. I put the phone number into my WhatsApp and I send them a voice note, either the day before or the morning of, because I would say 98% of the time when the person comes onto the Zoom call, they'll go, I nearly backed out. And I went, I know.
Yeah.
That's why I sent you the voice note. Because then somebody gets a voice behind my name
Yeah.
before they come on a camera. And I will also then say, do you know anything about me? Or can I explain a little bit about who I am, to give them a minute to settle in?
Yeah.
Shame in a relationship breakdown is a really complicated, interesting thing. My overarching goal is to see shame removed from the story of divorce and relationship breakdown because it is so restrictive and limiting. But shame comes in the form of your parents might be embarrassed to tell their friends.
Okay.
Shame might be, my parents got divorced, I don't want to do that to my children. But it limits us. So if somebody is in an area where shame because of those things are here, my logo is Your Story Matters. Because I believe that if we hand back the stories other people have, so your parents go to a church, they're embarrassed, they just don't think that it's Christian, they're here. Your friend, her parents got divorced when she was 10, your child is 10, so her story is different because it's her experience, but she's not asking how your world actually is. If we can hand back, and I help my clients hand back the stories to the different people they came from, we then have the capacity to write their story. And we can remove things like that because shame and guilt are paralysing. And they always come from other people's expectations of us. And so it is possible to remove them. But culturally, I think in Ireland, North and South especially, shame is a really big one. It's connected to faith and connected to the culture. So you have family, shame in families, shame in generations, and shame in cultures. So it's multi-layered with it. but it helps people to stay stuck and doesn't give them capacity to make good decisions. Because the only person who lives behind someone's front door is them. But if somebody ends up that their partner leaves them and they get a divorce because their partner has left, they have done nothing wrong. And if they live with shame because this is how they see themselves, that they've done something wrong, that breaks my heart completely. I think, we are put on this earth to live a life that feels alive and has freedom. And to live a life that is so reduced and so small, it literally breaks my heart. And I go, oh, we can do better than that. And compassion looks like, I don't know your situation, but I'm willing to listen. And that's what draws people out. That's what reconnects people. And that's what reconnects relationships, is I want to listen because I want to hear, I want to understand. And when we've come from families and friendship groups where we don't have that, we don't know how to give ourselves compassion. So one of the first things I do with every client that's in front of me is teach them what self-compassion looks like and feels like.
Yeah.
Because we don't know how to give it to ourselves if we haven't come from an area where we've had it we've been exposed to it. And this is what changes us as humans. And these are the things that help to underpin, they get underneath shame and guilt and they loosen it and they help to shake it off. So it's not focusing on it, it's focusing on the things that we need to replace it with in order to see it become smaller and dissipate. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Makes tons of sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really helpful.
No, that's really encouraging. And I think everything you're saying is coming back to that constant thing of shining the light on what is already there to prevent it from becoming, what did you call it? A crack into a chasm.
Yeah.
There's a concept that's called radical acceptance. And radical acceptance means, are you willing to actually take things at face value as they are? Because if you are willing to do that, then you are able to see what you might need to do or say in order to create change. But if you live with glasses on that give you a distorted version of something, if you put my glasses on, LJ, you wouldn't see clearly.
Yeah.
So if you were able to take off my glasses that you've decided to put on and see things as they are, then you can't ignore reality. Then you can move forward differently. So when we look at something and we go, there's a crack here, I'm going to accept that there is a crack because there is a crack. I'm not going to explain it away. I'm not going to minimize it. I'm going to go, there is a crack and there's two people in this relationship. So I'm going to do my part and own that part of it.
Yeah.
Then we have potential for real change.
Yeah.
Always.
And I think one of the things that you do with people that I find a really helpful kind of exercise is role playing different scenarios, because it can be so easy to predict what you think is going to happen.
Absolutely.
And like you're saying, see it in a certain way and say there's no point because I know exactly what's going to happen, and you predict the worst. And I think it's really helpful that you use that kind of technique to help people explore what else might actually happen, or also to just eliminate a bit of the fear, I guess, of approaching a difficult conversation with their spouse. So could you explain a little bit more about like how you do that and how that works with your clients?
Sure. So when we feel like we are being attacked, we go into protection mode. And protection sounds like I'm going to defend myself, I'm going to justify myself, and I'm going to explain myself because I'm not really going to be heard. So they're not helpful. They are patterns, but they're not helpful. So when I have a client in front of me and I'll say, I'd really like you to have a conversation about going away for the weekend in 3 weeks' time. Do you think we could organise this to happen? And they say to me, no, she just won't do that. No, she just won't. She's just going to be busy. And I'll go, okay, I hear that has happened before, but I'm asking you, if we change how you broach the subject and how you ask it, do you think you're willing to give it a try? No, I'm really not sure. No, it's just never happened. No, I just don't think I'm up for it. And I'll go, okay, so the pattern in the past has been this, but we're looking to change the pattern. So I'm going to give you language to help you. Then you find your own words around that type of language and let's see what we come up with. If we can let go of the outcome and not presume on somebody's behalf that they're going to do what they've always done, well, then we have real chance for something. So I might say to somebody, right, how have you always asked before? And they'll go, well, I'll just say, are you free next weekend? Can we go? I'd like to go away. And they'll go, no, I'm busy. So that pattern, what have you always asked?
Yeah.
So we need to change that. In order to change the outcome, we need to change the input.
Yeah.
So if we change the input into, I was just thinking, we haven't really had any time or space recently. Is there any hotel you'd like to go to near a town or a lake or something that you'd quite like to do? In fact, I remember you saying you'd like to climb Slieve Donard. What about we go to the Slieve Donard Hotel near Newcastle? Do you think that'd be something you could think about? I'm asking the same thing, will you go away for the weekend?
Yeah.
But it lands differently. And that is what creates potential for change. And until we know that that's not going to have an impact, I go, well, then we have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
And my clients are willing to trust me. And they do get really interesting, amazing results. And then they go, I never thought that would happen.
Yeah.
And I go, I love that.
Oh, that's great.
So it's just about saying something in a way that has the best chance of being heard to create a different outcome. But you have to let go of the patterns and the expected thing, because you go into protection mode first. And what we don't realize as humans is that we bring energy to the conversation because we're already expecting a no. So we go in defensive and then the other person bats off that. We have vibrations in life. Somebody walks into a room, you're in an office and the boss walks in and the boss is very critical. You can feel the boss behind you before you turn around, can't you?
Yeah.
So this is the same thing. We notice each other's presence. So how can we shift our energy in order to create something new with somebody else? If they don't get defensive, there is possibility that we can get a better outcome.
Yeah. So there's always hope.
Always.
We come back to that a lot.
Yes, hope is oxygen for the soul. We need hope to live and to live well. We really do. And when a relationship is broken down or breaking down, hope goes out the window. And I want to bring it back in and go, no, there is always hope. We just need to find it and build it up.
Well, I think that's a really lovely place to call it.
That is.
That's so good. We're going to do the audit tonight. We're going to publish our results on the social media channels. No, we're not.
We could do a live audit.
A live audit, absolutely. Claire, thank you so much for being here. This has been a really interesting conversation.
Yeah.
And
you've given us so much to think about.
Lots of nuggets of wisdom that we're going to definitely input for ourselves. And I'm sure people are listening at home.
Brilliant. Well, I have loved it. And you guys have asked really good questions to make it easy.
Oh, stop.
So you're so modest.
You can come back again.
Stop. I mean, keep going. No. If anyone wants to keep up with you or find out with anything that's going on, where can they find you?
So I have a website, which is claireauchmutycoaching.com. Okay. These will all be in the show notes. I have a Facebook site, an Instagram site, and a LinkedIn site. And you never know where I'll pop up.
Perfect.
Fantastic.
Brilliant. So what are you up to next? What's in the future for Claire?
Oh my goodness me. So I am heading to New York.
Oh.
Yes, I'm heading to New York and I have written a chapter in a book. So the book is called Hear Us Roar, and it is a series of books, and it is all about inspiring and helping women to change around the world. So the book that I've written in is all about mindset and change. And so I believe that we all have the ability to change our mindset and to change. And so these are the things that allow us to get what's in here out to inspire other people. Because I totally believe, the amount of stories I've read of other people that have inspired me, and it's like we never know what's going to tick with somebody else. And I think I'm going to put a few more things out there and do this and see.
Great. That's very
incredible.
Exciting. Yeah.
It is exciting.
Wow. Well,
amazing.
Have fun in New York.
Yeah.
I'll do my best. I will do my best. I know it's been launched on the billboards of Times Square. That is amazing.
Bucket list.
That is.
Yes, it really is.
That is a big dream.
Yeah.
Well, good for you. And thank you again for coming on to Couple Goals.
Thank you. You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
No problem. And thank you to everybody who has tuned in to listen. We've had a really good time today, haven't we?
Yeah, it's been so interesting. And please don't forget to keep on following, liking, subscribing across all our social media channels so you don't miss a single episode.
And keep sending in those questions for our expert episodes. We really want to hear from you guys. We'd love to answer your questions. So please send them in via email, social media, however you get them in, get them in.
And we'll see you next time.
See you. Couple Goals was brought to you by Care for the Family. We produce shows, resources and events to help strengthen family life all across the UK. And it's because of the generous support of thousands of people just like you. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please consider partnering with us in our mission. Visit cff.org.uk/donate to find out more. Thanks again, and we'll see you at the next one.